Hey guys, welcome to YesUsers Podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of tech visionaries shaping the future. Today, we are thrilled to have Jayashankar Attupurathu, co-founder and CTO of ValueMatrix.AI. With over 20 years of experience in technology leadership and enterprise architecture, Jayashankar has been instrumental in driving digital transformations across industries. Join us as we explore his insights on leveraging AI and cutting edge technologies to redefine business strategies and drive innovation. So, Jayashankar, welcome to YesUsers Podcast.
Thank you very much, Avinash. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Jayashankar, tell us something about your journey. What inspired you to, start ValueMatrix.AI?
Well, it's an interesting journey so far. Late 2016, there's something going in the back of my mind. I felt like the situation I am in currently, I was working from the professional perspective, was very much uncomfortable. There was a void in my life, and I was looking out. So there were a couple of things that came into the foray, and finally in 2022, I met Aditya, who's the co-founder in ValueMatrix. We met, and he shared his ideas of this product, and it was very much interesting. And I was sold when we had a couple of other discussions, and I decided to come on board full time. So the vision of the product is quite simple and valid at that point of time, and still it's valid. And so that's where the journey began.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, tell us about that initial conversation. So you said that you have been thinking about doing something of your own since 2016. What was happening in your career that you started thinking in that direction?
So when you start your career, it's like a vast landscape. So you learn things, you go on years, you learn things, right? At some point of time, maybe post 2013, I was solving the same problems again and again. By 2016, it was like in the back of my mind, okay, this can be solved like this. There's no learning curve there, or there's no advancement in the perspective of learning. And another aspect was maybe it's gaining experience of or aging. What is that I'm going to leave behind when I go, right? That question also came. What is that I'm, as a legacy, I'm going to leave for my kids? Exactly. Right? People will remember me as what? As a good friend, a good father, a good son. Then what? Right? Everybody has that thing going on. Right? But for me, it was more. So I started exploring those aspects. What does it mean? And here we are.
Wow. So, okay, that's really interesting. So how did you know Aditya? Like, did you knew him before in a professional capacity, or how was the scene there?
Oh, quite a coincidence. I didn't meet Aditya before 2022. So he reached out to me. I was like as a product interviewer, he felt like as one of the leaders in this tech space. I was heading the product before joining, before becoming part of the ValueMatrix. And he reached out to me to understand what the pain areas in the hiring process were there, right? So the ValueMatrix.AI is all about candidate intelligence and, breaking the status quo on how hiring is done, right? So we are bringing a new way of doing it. So when he reached out to me, I was just a regular customer for him, a future customer, prospective customer for him. So we were talking the problems I was facing as the other side of the table, and then he walked me through the idea. Right? So he was more like how we are planning to do this and all that. And I realized that it has in Hindi we say, right? It wasn't here. Then I sort him out, and I said, like, okay, let's do one thing. We need more, and then we met a couple of times to understand more. I gave some ideas that this would be that better. This is how the industry works. So I gave my industry insights. That's when he said, maybe can you become our consultant, right? Help him out to streamline the product. And then I said, okay, fine. And from there, some point of time, I decided to jump for that. That's how it goes.
Wow. That's really inspiring. So tell us about those early days. Like, I'm sure you were earning well
in your job before starting a venture, right? So how was that shift happen? Like, did you then take a salary? How was that transition?
That is a quite a difficult transition per se. Like you said, I was learning decent. Okay, I was making well, and when you jump to a startup which at bootstrap and angel investor, you don't expect the founders to draw any salary, right? So there was my expenses were there and all normal things for any salary guy. So currently, the way I look at me at 2022 and the way I look myself now is very different, right? So all those goes to my family support. In the sense, the first thing I did was to get my family also onboarded with this founding journey, right? My father has been a strong advisor and pillar. So any problems which I need a consult, I usually go to him first, right? So I did that. And the one thing he said is, if you not do it now, when will you do it? When you are 60 years old, right? So why don't you jump and see? Whatever comes the way you handle it. Because after that is my wife and kids. My wife just asked one thing: will this be something that you want to do? I said yes. Then go ahead, do it. Don't worry, we'll manage. Those two people helped me a lot in getting my decision done. I think most of the founders we speak to them, startup owners, they would be saying the same thing. Family has been the biggest support. So it took me 6 months to transit from being a regular 9 to 6 job guy to 24/7 working guy. Right. So yeah, not an easy decision, but I took it.
Yeah. So moving on, Jayashankar, tell us about building vision and execution. Blueprinting and IT vision, aligning it with business transformations can be challenging. How do you strike balance between having a grand vision and executing practical strategies to achieve it?
Sure. Yeah. So that's very, very good question, actually. Usually everybody has little difficulties. So the business vision always is a wish list or kind of a big dream thing, right? And that's where the difficulty comes in when we are thinking of executing everything in that wish list on day one. This challenge begins by when you are blueprinting the IT vision. It's easy to say that I can build the systems and all that. The resources, the efforts required to build it, right? Plus, there's a pressure of go to the market, right? Immediately, right? Because there are competitors, and because of so many advancement of technologies, barrier to entry is also pretty much slim. So the business wants to now. So it all begins with what are the priority of the business. If they want everything, it will take some time. If they can break it down to further priorities, right? It helps to put in the IT vision with a roadmap. It is straightforward from there. It's more about negotiations, working out what is best at that point of time with the resources we are available. And it is very difficult for startup who doesn't have much resources like a Fortune 500 companies, that they have large workforce and disposable, they have enough cash to burn and all that. And they don't have a time crunch also because they are a big player. So their marketing budgets are good. But when it comes to startup, every startup has the first thing. I don't have cash, I don't have the resources, and my vision is very big. How do I do it, right? So you'll see founders also getting burned out. The resources they have also burned out in that process. So and that doesn't work well for when you go for the next. So better to break it down, make a priorities, put iterations to it. You achieve quick wins, one step at a time, baby steps, and it will gradually become a big thing.
That's really interesting. And, one of the things that, I found very striking about your profile is that you have a technical background, right? We understand that. But by the time you started your own venture, you had more morphed into a more of a leader role, right? So now in this current startup, you were not that business guy, right? Because your co-founder was probably you were the technical guy, right? So because I have had this conversations a lot of time, like, there's a lot of people who say like, I don't code anymore, right? Because it was a young startup. So I'm sure you must not be hiring like a lot of people, and you're like, you would be doing a lot of coding yourself, which is evident for your multiple monitor setup as well, that you're doing a lot of coding. So how was that conversation with your co-founder, and what was the decision that you took there?
Yeah. So co-founding or becoming a founding itself is an emotional thing, right? So you have to get emotionally attached to your product. I'm just going to explain this in a bit elaborative. So when you have Fortune 500 companies, you have big CEOs, CTOs of the organization. They would be running only processes and managing resources, right? They would not be looking at the code level because there are people for that. But you have an idea, right? When you go to an investor, you say, this is my idea, right? This is what I'm passionate about this. But when you are not on the ground implementing those ideas or creating those ideas into reality, you're not selling it to the investors. That emotional connect doesn't come in, right? And when you have a SaaS platform, you don't know technology, you don't code, that is also something most founders do it. Some of them come from a business background and they become the CEOs. They are good at sales, but they might not be able to explain what is the nitty-gritties of things, right? Now, coming back, coding should be a passion, and it's my passion also. So when I started, there was just me who was the glorified CTO, a glorified engineer with a CTO tag. But slowly, 6 months down, 8 months down the line, when we have some resources, some money coming in, so our angel investors started hiring people. But I still code. It keeps me connected to the product. If I am away from that code, there are people now who do build features for us. We have end of engineering and other great developers associated. I'm lucky in that sense. But still, I would like to continue associating with the code. In short, you code, the implementation is done. It's like a baby being born, and then you can passionately go to the market and say, okay, this is my baby, and we are doing it this way.
Yeah, very interesting. So tell us something about ValueMatrix.AI, right? What problem is it solving? And all of our listeners, why should they, start using your product?
Oh my, okay. So hiring is broken in the sense, when I say that hiring, different companies have a different way of hiring, right? They have, like, you'll see companies doing 9 rounds, 10 rounds, and there may be companies who want people to be onboarded quickly. They might do only 1 or 2 rounds. So different companies have different processes. But in the end, it is simple. This guy who is coming on board, this person, is he good for me or the company, right? How do they do that? So they write a JD, they have a skill set map, they do an interview of those skills, right? In the end, there might be a technical round, and then there's a manager round, there's an HR round, and all that. So all the rounds is that the candidate being patient enough because he or she wants a job, goes through all the round, and in the end, either he or she is rejected or the manager would hire them. And in the 6 months down the line, maybe they'll feel that, okay, this person is not good for me. Either move him to a different department or maybe let him go. And this has been happening for years, and during COVID time, it picked up. So before joining ValueMatrix, I was hiring in large numbers, and I had 2 problems. One is getting people, right people. How much of a round of technical skills? They're good at technical, but they might not be good for my team. And second is the right set of skills. Now, ValueMatrix is trying to break that thought process that I have to do 9, 10 rounds of interviews. I have to find candidate who's very good in technical skills, in tech areas, technical skills, but I don't care about how he behaves with people or what kind of culture he brings into the organization. That I'll manage it. So that is what we are flipping it. In the sense, we are building a platform which brings in a candidate intelligence, bringing the company's culture, ethics, and core principles, and also the technical skills, how best match. So it's basically just like you have, and if I want to give an analogy, if you have trading in the markets, right? You have this mutual fund statistics and all the analysis. You have this bar graph and everything. You look at it and when to enter the market and exit. Similar way, our platform does that. So before even meeting the candidates itself, the company can view the candidates in perspective, whether this particular person would fit for the company in a cultural way. Does he or she has enough cognitive capabilities for this job? Also, this person is from the team dynamics perspective. So when I say team dynamics, I might be hiring for a particular team. Whether this person, when it comes to a team, will it disturb the balance of the team? Or it will bring the more productivity into the group, right? And finally, we do have an Uber model for interviews. So we have associated our 2,000 plus interviewers with us. And the candidates are vetted and our skills are evaluated by these 2000 plus highly performant individuals in the tech space, right? They are mainly from man companies, and who have been like in this industry for long seasoned, and they have done tons of interviews. Plus, our evaluation model is AI enabled, so we are not having an AI that does the evaluation, but it's people led. But an AI runs in the background. We have a great proctoring algorithms going in the background. It does candidates analysis from the perspective of context to motions and sentiments. So a lot of things going in the background, but we are predominantly AI ML driven. Yeah, deep tech.
Wow, that's really interesting. And trust me, I completely relate to the problem statement. And to be honest, I was actually trying to solve this problem for a niche area at one point of time. So I used to run a edtech business for lawyers, right? So in a very simplistic way, we were Udemy, but for lawyers in India. So I still run it. It's the name of the startup is Fusion Law School. So we were helping law firms solve the hiring problem, right? So the same problem that you guys are solving on a more general level, right? And one of the hardest response that I got is that it's the same, right? They told us that see, technical we are taking, right? We are asking the questions that are relevant for us, right? We are asking the questions that, in our opinion, test the guy on the best technical skills, right? Because you can't go and say to the user that the technical questions that you are asking are dumb, right? Because you're trying to sell a product, right? And then we check the behavioral aspect during the interviews. So there's no problem. Like, I know it is biased and there are a lot of things, but from a user perspective, this is the feedback that I got a lot, is that, we are checking it on the interviews. And one thing which is very unique to legal hiring, and maybe it's not there in the areas that you're trying to solve, is that most of the law firms, when they hire someone, usually the person has interned with them for a couple of months. So they really know how the guy performs, how that person performs, right? The typical work scenario. So what would be your answer to this question?
Yeah. So this platform that we are building, it's not just aligned to a technical domain, right? See, the hiring process pretty much is same except for the technical round. It's all about human connect, right? In the sense, when a hiring manager goes in and speaks to a candidate, it's more about how this person aligns to me, right? I am important here. So every human being, they will think I am important than anybody else, right? So same thing applies for every domain, right? So in fact, that is where this tech hiring is just an MVP for us. We are next targets are sales. In fact, we had a couple of discussions with leaders from other domains. Legal is one aspect, tech is one of those, even schools and our colleges also. So we are going to open up this thing. It's not just tech space. Tech space is just our MVP.
Yeah, that makes sense. But so how would your product perform? I'm sorry if I was not able to understand that. You explained us how your product is working. But imagine that, I start using the product, right? How would be my experience? What will be the user journey on that?
Oh, okay. So let me talk in two perspectives, the company perspective and the candidate perspective. Thank you for asking. This comes when I'm explaining someone my product, I go passionately about it. So we have a company user who gets into our platform, right? Now, what is the person's main objective? Get the right candidate, right fit. The journey starts with even writing a JD, right? Now, writing a JD is cumbersome. So we have enabled features, just have to define a couple of things. What is the role and what is that? Where is the location and salary thing, right? Platform itself will create the JD for you. Another thing is, while creating a JD, it's not about generative AI using creating those particular job description. What we do is we look at the cultural aspect of that company. We have that intelligence of the person who is writing coming in, and so looking at the cultural aspect of that company, write the JD, which would attract like-minded. If you're hiring a developer, the developers who would be aligned to your culture. Right? So that perspective, in that context, this JD is created. Once you have done that, what happens next is that you add those candidates you want to get interviewed. The first thing is that until now, this candidate is not connected. It's not contacted by the company. And what happens is, post that, you have a dashboard created where you have the insights of how well this particular
Just sorry to interrupt, but the thing is that like once you have created that JD, so will your system automatically post it to different job websites like LinkedIn or Naukri.com, or you'll have to do it manually?
Yeah. So as of now, that feature is planned, but yes, in the future, this is two-way actually. It can be posted in the company's internal job sites. It can be posted at Naukri. It could be posted anywhere. It will be pulled into our platform and vice versa. We publish it here. It goes everywhere.
Right. Then it goes everywhere. Like, okay, that would be happening in the future. Makes sense. Then, okay, so once the job has been posted, imagine that, I have posted it on Naukri.com. I've gotten the JD that your software produced. I have posted it on Naukri.com and LinkedIn. Right. Now, people are applying to it, right? When people apply it on LinkedIn, the data is going to be with LinkedIn, right? When people are applying on Naukri.com, the data is with Naukri.com, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens as somebody?
Yeah. So that is the candidate's perspective. I'm talking about the company's perspective. I'll talk about candidate's perspective when it applies. But to answer on this question quickly, when you apply, it's not just LinkedIn. The company also get the details in current system. So the same applies to us. The platform will also get the data. What we require is just the first name, last name, email, phone number, and the LinkedIn. That is what is required by the platform to generate enough intelligence for this particular person. When the company also might have candidates not sourced from other areas, they might have their own internal job postings and all that. They can bring that in here. So they upload all the candidates that have applied. They can have the option of doing that also.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Makes sense. Completely makes sense. Okay, let's move on. But before that, does that keep you wake up at the night? Because, there are job posting websites and there are hiring management system, right? HMS, right? Do you worry that what you are offering, some like 6 months or a year down the line, these hiring management systems will start offering that, and will you give a really tough time?
Of course. I mean, any business, that is a predicament everybody have. You can't be a sole provider of things, right? If there is an opportunity and somebody's grabbing it, everybody would come in, right? It depends. Like I said, the barrier to entry decreases with the current state of innovations that is happening in the market. Yes, it keeps me awake. So every time we build in a feature, what we do is we make sure that it is something that addresses a pain point for current, because that pain point changes every 3 months, 6 months, because there are new things coming in and the focus or the new pain point for the customer changes. So we have to be on our toes and make sure that every 6 months we have something built in that addresses the pain points. That's how we win the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings us to the customer-centric approach that you have emphasized a lot. So tell us about that. Like, we all know about user stories, like, having a product manager, having some dedicated time to listening to the users, right? So because a lot of our listeners belong to the startup group, right? Can you share some practical tips for them that as to how they can align their product development to the customer needs?
So first thing that we have done, I'll share what practices we have done. So, and it is an evolving process, right? Every time it changes, if we have a new learnings going on. So first thing is that whatever thing you think is best for that particular fee or a feature you have come up and you think that is the best idea, let's do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. First thing is you brainstorm with your peers, right? Okay, I have this. What is this? And so complete ideation set and see the end-to-end, do a market study of it, the typical process of ideation. Next step is don't go build, go and talk to the customers, right? And you'll be doing that. We actually, in fact, we met 100 plus CHROs in India and abroad to finalize the flow of things, to understand their pain. Similarly, whoever is doing this should be doing that. Talk to your end customer, the ICPs that you want to do, find a leader in that and talk to them. Next step is not to build a product, but build a working prototype and find some people from who you had taken the interviews with and ask them to walk through this particular working prototype and see how it works. And after that, say you have 100 features, find the top 10 priority of it, build it, and then open it up for POC. That way, if you're failing, you'll fail fast so that you can easy to pivot to. That is one approach that we have taken.
Very interesting. And because a lot of startup entrepreneurs comes to me and say like, how should we approach these guys? How should we approach our users, and how can we ask for their time? Because a lot of time the guys that your ICP is, they are really high shots, right? Like, especially in the SaaS business. So tell us about your story of reaching out to the users, and what kind of questions and what kind of initial communication you are having with them.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you rightly pointed, if you send out any messages to LinkedIn right away, people don't respond, right? The best situation or setting would be to go through some, accelerators. You don't have to go to the topmost person. You can also start with like managers. See, like in our case, it was CHROs. We were lucky in the sense because I have a network. Aditya and my third co-founder Raj have a huge network. We all are seasoned, like 20 plus years of experience. We have some network going on, and so it was easy to reach out. But I would suggest that go to find entrepreneurs who are starting up and they don't have enough network. Make that network. Go to events, right? Informally chat about it. Don't go up front and say that, okay, here's my idea and I want it. But in fact, have a social setting and then talk to them and pique their interest and do a follow on. You might not be successful at one go, but keep on trying and you will be successful. But plus, they could be your prospective clients. When you go to our accelerators, there might be mentors. See, they are mentors because they are here to help. So this is what happened. Like before me joining ValueMatrix, I was a mentor at Kerala Startup Mission, so which is a government-based entity based out of Kerala, and I was a mentor there, and I was mentoring a lot of startups there. So I also use this opportunity to interview other mentors there. So that is second is the event. Yeah. So you find avenues and you go ahead. So identify ICP, find people, go to the events there. Your ICP are connect with accelerators who can help you. Not only with your journey for interview, as well as for other aspects also, because most of the tech startups in India are all engineers. They might not know how the other aspects like marketing and financing might work. So the accelerators can help you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that brings me to another interesting question. Like when we look at the lean startup approach, the approach that you really shared, where you're first building the prototype, then taking it to the users, understanding their needs and working backwards from there, right? So a lot of time, the problem of this approach is, especially in the engineering team, you kind of perpetuate a myth, I would say, is that whatever we are building, it's not permanent. Like we can, change very rapidly, and that's a good thing. But one of the drawback of this that I have experienced is that the engineering guys start to think that why are we thinking on the long term? Because we don't know this idea of will be scrapped 6 months down the line. So absolutely beneficial to go from that customer-centric approach. But at the same time, as a CTO, how do you maintain uncompromising engineering standard? What processes and what systems do you implement to make sure that the code that you guys are producing is of really high standard?
Yeah. So I think gone are the days when the business vision and the business customer-centric thing was only left to the top part. Now it is basically bottom up. So how to bring an engineering excellence is basically involve this bottom up or the grassroots people who are implementing it in the business decisions also. That is one way. In the sense, if you are building something for a customer, in the ideation phase itself, bring them on board, not only product managers, but the engineers who would be implementing it, right? So their input comes in. And we are building for long term, right? But like you said, the system is short-lived, right? Because the changes, the framework changes, the library changes quickly, right? But the long-term vision remains the same. If you are able to make the implementers also understand and become stakeholders in the long-term vision of the customer-centric approach or for the customer, it will work, right? So they know that we are building for long-term, but this might change in 6 months and they are prepared for that. Now, the other aspect is quickly building it and failing fast, like I said. That also comes into picture, not at the product level, but at the code level also. Right? I have seen this in our current product also, in other startups also. Whenever there's a new startup thing happens, we try to make a product which is already working in a market. I'm not talking about from the Feature-wise, I'm talking about the way it should be stable, it should be well-matured, it should look elegant and all that. If you want to go to market that quick and want to do an MVP, it's okay. It's secondary. Looking good is secondary, but the feature should work. It should be acceptable to your ICP, right? And then you build on top of it. So in a way, it's easy to modularize it, break it into chunks, divide and conquer approach, and whatever works, then you mature it, right? You don't mature it all the day one. Don't make a very elegant UI and UX, and then you realize this feature is not required anymore. Let's remove this, right? The effort is gone there. So make a feature, get its acceptance from the market, bring in the finesse, and then mature the product and go on, so on.
Yeah. Because this is something I have experienced personally, right? Because everything starts with just an idea, right? Okay, so one of our team member had this idea. We go and test it out with the users, and we are absolutely clear to the engineering. So instead of finding an elegant solution, right? Because you are a coder, you understand. Like when I'm coding, I can do a jugadu way of doing stuff, right? Which is a pretty way of doing that job. It's a code which could be written in 5 lines are now written in 25 lines, right? And you tell to the engineer, and they say like, "Jaldi chahiye na kaam." तो अभी ऐसे ही होगा जल्दी चाहिए ना फीचर जाना ना यूजर को दिखाने तो अभी ऐसे ही होगा right you said okay I say abhi right now we are not sure how long will this thing even last, right? So you say okay this is okay. Now what happens, you go take it to the user says okay this is fine but this is done now because the base code is jugadu, the code that is written on the top of it is also jugadu, right? And then you start building it and then you start taking it to the market. So what I've seen that especially young startup, they incur a lot of technical debt, right? Which they have to pay like any other debt 6 months or 1 year down the line. And the worst thing that can happen is that technical debt becomes due when you are blitzscaling, right? Like what you are building, it just clicks and you are really scaling. But because the base code was Jugaru, it's not scalable. So what would be your advice? Because speed to the market is really important, right? Making solving the problem is really important. But at the same time, you want to be prepared for that day when, if everything aligns, when we are scaling, the technical debt doesn't come due, right?
Yeah. So you cannot escape technical debt in a say, but let's talk about Jugaadu. I would say Jugaadu is good, but in a positive sense. Why? If you are identified an MVP and find out what is your core IP in this, right? You might have an idea, feature, whatever it is, and it might be core to it. It might be your USP. Build that. Rest of the things are already built. You don't have to rebuild, right? So it's actually build versus buy. And we are lucky in the tech world. We have open source things. Everything is available. Almost all the problems are solved. Login, be it security, be it even CSS templates. Why not reuse, right? Reuse those and concentrate more on your IP. Right? Build the first version of the IP. I'm sure you have to pivot it again and again, because that IP will not will be something that you go to the market, you'll get lot of feedbacks, you have to change it. So when you use out of the box products, it might meet 80 to 90% of your requirement. Just use it and tailor it if you want for your needs, right? I say this, the first version of the product you make might not be the last version. So you be prepared to throw away. It's easy to throw away the things that is out of the box because they have no emotional connect to it. But when you have something written and your IP from the scratch you have written, you have an emotional connect, it's very difficult to get away. But be prepared to have that also removed and changing your perspective. So engineers are emotionally connected to code they write. I know because I'm an engineer by heart, but we should be prepared to get away from that.
And on the point of reusing the components which are already there, one of the feedback that I've gotten from computer engineers is that one thing I've experienced, computers engineers hate most, which is reading other people's code, right?
Yeah.
So when you say, guys, why are we building this? Why can't we just reuse this? They say like the time that I will spend in reading other people's code, in that time I can code myself, right? So what your advice to I'm sure you have a lot of computer softwares, right? And now when you're saying like, guys, why are we building the the authentication method. Why are we building that? Why can't we just reuse this component?
That's a bitter pill to swallow. Actually, it's an engineer's fallacy that I can do a better job than the other person, and it's the case when it comes to libraries, right? Or a source code that is picked up from the market. Yeah, right. People have that tendency, but my suggestion or my advice is to swallow that bitter pill. Because if you want to save effort, why are you reinventing the wheel? You will be writing your code better than the other guy, but the other guy is solving your problem, right? Why use it? And wherever you have, see, this could be done better, do that better. Only that is better. Now, reading the code through, I think there are a lot of AI ML tools now in the market, like autopilots and things, which can help you with this. It's straightforward. It tells you what this code does. You don't have to worry, and even it tells you it is. In a way, it will make you a little lazy, but it will be faster, right?
Wow. Yeah, really interesting. Thanks for suggesting the AI tools. And that brings me to the next question I wanted to ask. Generative AI is impacting every industry, right? So do you see any specific use case where it can make a huge impact?
Okay. Now, AI has been around from 70s. I think the recent ChatGPT of
AI has been around from 50s, actually.
Exactly. I stand corrected from 50s onward. And with ChatGPT coming in, I think OpenAI has brought it into foray. Now, I would say it's a good thing. Now, if you look in the area of content creation, right, it has grown exponentially. You see a lot of bloggers, reels coming in using this AI. I have actually met a couple of startups during one of the events where they are focused on creating contents quickly for the content creator. They create reels and it's in the YouTube. So I think the generative AI and content creation is a tip of the iceberg. It's just one baby step. There are so many things can be done in this. I imagine that the next step would be to writing codes through generative AI. If people are doing it, I mean, there's somebody copy pasting it, but I think the entire feature, can the code generator do it? Can the UI UX be built? So can the entire product be built in a couple of weeks, right? Instead of a couple of months or 6 months. The MVP is born. So now that brings to the next question, the go-to-market strategies would be quick. Right? So I think it's just starting out. Whatever AI is doing currently, we will see a lot of things going forward. So unfortunately, the flip side is that some of the skills would be redundant, which means the workforce have to skill up and move to the next level. It doesn't mean that the jobs would not be there. It means that the skills would change. Somebody is currently writing code, then they have to tell the AI what to build. That is the next step, I would say.
Yeah, you brought in a very interesting point of, the skill sets of software developers evolving, right? And, what I've seen that implementing AI when it comes to, right now, every company, whether new or old, wants to implement AI in their software or current offerings, right? My question is, when it is implementing via APIs, it's usually easier, right? But when you are building your own models, when you are training it on your own set of data, it's usually the harder way, right? So how was your experience while implementing AI on your startup? Any specific example that want to share, and any specific example that our users can learn from?
So when we were building the models, we were pretty clear that we are not going to reinvent the way. Whatever is available, we build it on top of it, right? Let's take an example of candidate intelligence. So like I said, we don't have an interaction with the candidate. We would be looking at their candidates' intelligence would be generated through other means like social media, LinkedIn, their GitHub, open source codes and all that. There is already models which does that, right? Which are general in nature. So our IP, we built our IP on top of this open source platforms, right? So what it does, like I said before, right? Try use whatever is open source. Okay, and then concentrate more on your IP. So we did the same thing. So our IPs, we created the models from the scratch for our IPs, and for other aspects which enables those IP, we use out of box solutions.
Really interesting. So my question is that, see, when you're building an AI product, the problem is it's not like a web app, right? In web app, the results are fixed, right? If I click on this button, this is going to happen, right? In an AI model, the answers are never fixed. If you ask the same question twice, it's going to give different answers, right? So how do you maintain quality? How do you maintain that, whatever you're doing, it is actually pushing the needle in the right direction?
So the main thing about any AI model is the underlying data, right? The person who is training that data. Few years back, I will not name the company, but few years back, there was an organization who had introduced AI ML in their hiring. Okay? Straight through processing, an entire thing was. And in the end, they found out that at some point of time that the workforce they hired through this platform, their platform, the AI ML platform, they were belonging to one kind of race, one kind of set of people and all that. So it means that the entire platform was biased. So they have to stop that program altogether. So similarly, it goes with any model, right? The underlying data we must be clean, not biased and not tainted, right? So you also have to test your model. So if you have, say, 100 records for data, make sure, so they have the strategy of testing also unbiased way, right? So you divide the data set, you train with one set and then test with the other set. Right? But how do you out of bias? That is something that is very important. So the preparing that data is very important so that we don't get biased while creating of models.
Wow, really interesting. So now let's move on to the rapid fire round.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's your favorite tech stack?
Java.
Okay.
I can't say that now because I have to work on anything that is good for the platform. But my favorite tech stack is.
So your answer is whatever is good for my platform. Very diplomatic answer.
Exactly. But like I said, humans are biased, but I am biased to Java, but I will do whatever is required for the platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question, a book that has significantly influenced your leadership style.
Oh, along the ages, I think there are a lot of books. One thing that still holds sway is basically the book from Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. I think that is one of the great leadership books I would recommend people should read. And there are other couple books like one is Never Eat Alone, and there is one more, Being the Boss. Being the Boss. It's basically a Harvard HBR review book. I would recommend these 3 books.
Awesome. Next question is something interesting about you that most people might not know.
Actually, I don't know. It's interesting about me. But yeah, in the free time, I used to spend time a lot with my friends, and I cook. That is something that most of my friends and colleagues don't know, but I cook. I cook whenever I get time. And that is one kind of meditation for me.
Yeah. And these days, for young people, that's a very good way to get chicks in your life. Be a good cook.
If I was not an engineer, I didn't do engineering, I would be a chef somewhere. That is something I had in my mind before. But yeah.
Awesome. Nice to know. So next question is, how do you kickstart your day for maximum productivity?
I do like to spend time with friends, people from other walks of life, but I love to have some silent time also. So I try to wake up. My maximum, I try to wake up early, 5-ish, have a cup of coffee, look outside, introspect what is happening in life and all that. Go for some kind of physical activity. I am not a exercise guy, but I go for a physical activities, maybe sports like badminton, table tennis. See, I'm not like a multitasker guy. So I do 1 or 2 things in a day and I find out what is that, right? And the 3 things before end of the day, there are 3 things that I do. I have to finish. One is what I've learned. One thing I have to learn new. One person I have to help, right? And get things done. The 2 things, these are the 3 things I try to achieve by day. So that first thing before I start my work is that. Then I start my work by going through emails. So we have some customers also start looking at our products. So whatever their complaints are or any other things going on, if I go through that, and then I start my day. And I start my day, at work is by talking to my guys. So I do one-on-ones first. And then post 12 o'clock, when you are getting tired, I start coding or some technical aspects.
So you know what? You are like meeting my panic a little because that drains most of my energy.
You stay sharp in the morning. So
Right.
you will be I try to follow some of the methods that the leaders follow. One thing I try to do is that in Amazon, they have this: don't invite people to a meeting where it requires more than 6 slices of pizza.
Yeah.
Six, or I don't exactly remember the correct number of pizza slices. So if you have that, more than that meeting is not productive. So I try to do that. So
So you guys don't do daily stand-ins?
you do.
We do. So the first morning will be the stand-ins, right?
Morning would be one-on-ones. I do have one with my.
Like stand-in is like a team activity where like, you start the day, you bring everyone who is within your team, right? And you say, okay, guys, this is what we are doing for the day. We probably, so this is the first thing you do in the morning, or you do for one-on-ones?
So I do one-on-ones, and then I go. I don't do reverse. The reason is in one-on-ones, there could be something that comes in which I would have to, if it is required, then I'll be talking to a team about it. So we do standings and then we spend 5 minutes to discuss something which is very important. So I do the one-on-ones first and then do the stand-ups.
Okay. So what are your one-on-ones like? Like who are you having one-on-ones with?
So recently we have hired some leaders in our group who are, because I realized I can't do everything. So they are the experts. And so basically this one-on-ones is to help them and to understand how can I do something for them so that it will be easy for them to their daily tasks, right? Remove blockers. So I would say 6 months back, I was doing things. I would go into the code and do it. Nowadays, it's very not easy, but yeah, try to help them out in whatever form it is.
Okay. That's really interesting. So as we are running out of time and, we approach the end of the podcast, I'll ask you, give me a quick answer on this. Where do you see ValueMatrix.AI in 5 years? What are your ambitions? What are your plans? And second, how can you help early stage startups / their budgets on hiring? Because we know one thing is really important for startup is hiring a good team.
Yeah. First to the first question, I don't know where I'll be in 5 years. I don't plan that. Far, I can't do that. Maybe 6 months. So as of now, my priorities in this year, we as ValueMatrix want to do lot of POCs, lot of POCs, maybe hundreds of companies onboarded and finding out what went wrong and what is good for them, right? But I see ValueMatrix as a player in the market, not only hiring space, but in the next 5 years. Our vision is not just hiring space. It's just a small tip of what we want to do. Our core IP is extension to hiring to retiring, right? The person onboarded to a company till the day he or she retires from the workforce. And I don't mean just one company. I mean the entire workforce. That's our vision, right? Everything that under that is our platform will do. That's the long-term vision. The second aspect, what cutting the cost, I would suggest that what we do is, startups do is they go with numbers, right? They want the best also, and they want the value. And I have to spend less. You should do a hybrid model where if you're hiring a core team, make sure that that core team is good and give them equity also, not just salary, right? You should give them skin in the game. If the company makes good money, good profit, they should also get equal share, and they will work towards that because inherently they are getting a value, right? So always remember to get people on equity plus money you have or pure equity. Right? So find like-minded people and with having. So we have done that, and it is good. It is working for us. And second thing is use our platform or find the culture fit person first, and then go for a technical assessment. Don't do reverse. Because you're spending time on you interview 10 people and you'll find that only one person fits for my bill. Don't do that. Find the person who fits your bill and then do a technical interview.
Wow, really interesting. So Jesh, thanks a lot for coming on the YesUsers podcast.
Wonderful. Thank you, Avinash, for this opportunity. I'm very happy I had this discussion with you. And yes, I wish you best of luck for the future podcasts.
Thanks a lot. Best of luck to ValueMatrix.AI as well.
Thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this insightful episode of YesUsers Podcast with Jayashankar. Stay connected with us for more inspiring conversations with tech leaders who are making a difference. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts with us. Until next time, this is your host, Avinash Tripathi, signing off.